Hello, everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Sports Hub Patriots podcast. Alex Barth, Matt Dolloff coming to you after the Patriots 19-3 win over the Chicago Bears on Sunday. The Patriots have won 2 or 3. How about that, Dolloff?
The Patriots won a football game. How about that? Victory Monday.
Back in the win column as they enter the second half of the year, dare I say, with a little bit of momentum. And really, they're like 2 bad coaching decisions away from having a 3-game winning streak.
Yeah, and I mean, when I was on pregame in week 5, I believe, when they played Miami at home, I said this is a stretch of winnable games coming up. 2 and 3 in those games. I mean, not terrible.
It's not bad. That's not bad
for a team that's at times has looked like the absolute worst team in the National Football League.
Right.
For them to win 2 games out of 3 and to play probably their best game of the year on Sunday against the Chicago Bears. I mean, you got to feel pretty good about how they've played in this winnable stretch of games, even though it hasn't always looked perfect.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. Obviously, nobody's putting them in the playoffs. I know some people have pointed out they're 2 games out of a spot.
I'm not doing that.
You said that 2 and 3 in the last 5 games. They can play about 500 football for the rest of the season. I think you'd feel excellent about that going into 2025. But as it comes to this game against the Bears, let's start off as we always started off here, Dolph. How you feeling about the coaching staff?
Step forward for them, right? You can't really deny that. I think we look back to last week and how badly they effed up that game, the way they came out, the way they were unprepared, and just the weird decisions like what they did with the offensive line last week. For them to respond and come out this week and be prepared and have a good game plan and play 60 minutes and look like a smart, well-coached football team for the most part, like, you got to give them credit for this win. Both sides of the ball, all 3 phases.
Yeah, Drake Maye said it this morning. Like this, it reminded him of the Cincinnati game, and this is the way they need to play in order to win games. And that is the way they need to play. I mean, dominating at the line of scrimmage. They dominated the line of scrimmage, and we'll get into why that happened. But dominating at the line of scrimmage, not making mistakes. They had the one. It was a bad turnover by Drake Maye, but they only had the one turnover. The only other super glaring mistake from this game is the punt return they allowed early on that probably should have bit them, but the Bears sucked. Big day for the Bears suck, Mike.
Oh,
big day for that.
My God, do they suck.
But yeah, I think you feel like it's a step forward. It's a foundation to build on. Like when I look at it, and I know like Jimmy Stewart tweeted after the game, this is more about the Bears than it is the Patriots. And I certainly had that thought. And the Bears were, especially when you talk about the defensive line, right? And their ability to contain the run and their ability to get after the quarterback. 9 sacks is awesome, but this is a Bears team that was working with a patchwork offensive line. They came in without 2 starting tackles. Their best guard, Tevin Jenkins, gets hurt during the game. It should look like that. And this isn't, you shouldn't come away from that game thinking that this is what they're going to be, because it's not. But to make a group of backups look like a group of backups, like that's a step. Because they weren't even doing that as recently as a few games ago. The Titans' offensive line was banged up too, and they didn't have any problems blocking the Patriots.
Jaguars aren't exactly world beaters on the offensive line.
I saw their offensive line yesterday.
Yeah, and they gashed them in London, so it's like, it's a step forward compared to how they were playing.
To me, it's like you look at this, and do you build on it? It's almost the equivalent of like in basketball, just you're on a cold streak, so you shoot a layup, right? And just to see the ball go in. And the Rams have their own offensive line issues. It's not as bad as the Bears, but like, all right, can you build on this next week? So I think you saw some encouraging signs. I think Keon White finally getting through for a sack when it's been a lot of pressure, but no production from him for a few games. Anthony Jennings, if he can be more involved in a 3-down role rather than just stopping the run, that's encouraging. You saw guys like Jeremiah Farms, have a game. And again, like it's who they're going against, but sometimes there's that mental, like, you have week after week after week where it's not going well. Just to have it go well can help, can flip the energy in the room. So I think that's what this game is. Ideally, if you're the Patriots, it's a building block. It's a foundation as you go on this, the second half, and you're trying to be better in the second half than you were in the first, and you're trying to build for 2025. This is a good opportunity to be like, hey guys, this is the blueprint. This is the picture. And yeah, the opponent isn't going to be as easy to go through every week, but that's what we want it to look like.
Yeah, absolutely. And just starting with the defense, and yes, the Bears were severely banged up on offense. They had backup tackles in there. And so, yes, you had to make them look like back. I would have been very concerned if they didn't get 9 sacks yesterday based on who they were going up against. But to me, that's not really the thing. To me, it's that they played as a unit. And it's like, we had this talk earlier in the season. Well, players were talking about guys freelancing, guys playing selfish, guys need to check their egos at the door. Like, all that stuff was going around. Didn't see any of that yesterday. Like, and to me, the big difference, the way they looked like a different defense is because they maintained the gaps and they contained them on the edge.
They were disciplined.
So they were disciplined. Yeah, you didn't have guys shooting gaps and getting caught behind the quarterback. You didn't have much of that at all.
And that's an easy quarterback to get caught behind, because I know he didn't look good yesterday, but if you break contain, he did get them once or twice, but it wasn't anything overly impacttle.
No, yeah, they had to set up this great just wall in the defensive line. They keeping their gaps and not letting Caleb Williams get through them, and like not giving up too much in the run. And so to me, they looked like a completely different defense because they weren't repeating the same mistakes that we'd seen before, where they were getting beat up the middle against the run, and they weren't keeping them contained on the edge, and guys just over pursuing. Like, we didn't really see any of that. And so that's why it was encouraging to see, especially from the defense, because I think the defense was the main reason that they had started to really spiral for a few weeks there. Like, the defense started to really get beat in all different ways. And so it was good to see them sort of rebound, because we're starting to see progress on the offensive side of the ball, and they're starting to score a little more points. And, I think they're probably gonna have to score more than 19 points to win some of these games coming down the stretch. But, defensively, to hold the team to 3 points, I mean, you have to feel encouraged by the way they played as a unit and the way that they sort of finally corrected a lot of the mistakes that they'd been repeating.
And you saw some young guys step up too. They were without Kyle Duggar again. Del Pettis plays a great game. Ended back-to-back Bears drives. The other thing, when you talk about the coaching staff, that Brendan Schooler wrinkle, the Longhorn package.
Schooler, green dot.
Maybe. I like, that's a good thing to have, because one of their big problems, you just talked about it, containing quarterbacks. And ideally, like, your defensive front, your pass rush is going to be able to do that, but not every time. And they have some more athletic quarterbacks on the schedule. They have, not in the immediate future, but they have Kyler Murray down the road. They still have Josh Allen twice. So, and they don't have that athletic off-ball player that's your prototypical spy. Last year was Mack Wilson. He left in free agency. It's supposed to be Raekwon McMillan this year. That obviously didn't happen. He's now no longer on the team. He gets cut on Friday. So who are you going to have do that? Brendan Schooler has the athleticism to do that. And he did play safety in college. So, like, it's not totally foreign to him. And you saw it yesterday, his ability to close ground on Caleb Williams on that early rollout and force the incompletion. I'm not saying Brendan Schooler should start on defense. I'm not even saying he should play like 15 snaps a game. I think he played 5 yesterday. But in situations against athletic quarterbacks where you don't want to send a ton of rushers, or you want to rush more aggressively while still dropping guys back into coverage, still playing man where guys' eyes aren't on the quarterbacks, he has the athletic build of a guy who can spy. And mixing that in as a wrinkle is smart, and it's making the most of your personnel. And for all Drake Maye talked over the summer about not having dedicated special teamers anymore, Christian Ellis, who didn't play yesterday, he was hurt, but Christian Ellis began the year as a special teamer. He's emerged as a key player for them, helping out on defense, stepping up in that linebacker role without Juwan Bentley. Now you maybe have Brendan Schooler. Like, they're starting to figure it out. It's maybe taking a little longer than you would have liked it to, but like, that's a good wrinkle to have in the defense. Again, I don't know that we see it next week. I don't think you need Brendan Schooler to spy Matthew Stafford, especially at this point in his career. But when you if Anthony Richardson is back when they play the Colts, and then again, they have Kyler, they'll have Josh Allen twice. You want to throw Justin Herbert in there. Schooler could be a good matchup piece against those quarterbacks in certain situations.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope we see more of that just sprinkled in, and like that Schooler spy sack.
Yeah.
It sort of reminded me of, remember back when they played the Ravens and they jumped the center and blocked the field goal with Shea McClellan.
Yeah.
Like, that to me is just like, that's an example of, like, you don't need to be an elite player to come up with a big play. If you're smart, you're well coached, like, you're
put in the right situation,
and you get put in a position to succeed. Like, everything can come together on a play like that. So that was great to see from Schooler. And yeah, like, they don't have anybody that plays just special teams anymore. Like, we saw Joe Giles Harris play defense and special teams. He had the special teams penalty, which wasn't great.
No,
but yeah, this has been a weeks-long process of, I think, especially trying to figure out how to make up for the loss of Juwan Bentley on defense. And, like, I don't know that they ever made up for the leadership part of it and that whole thing, and then the play calling on defense, but just schematically on the field, like, it's taken a while to sort of figure out how to, make up for that. And, they have Taki back finally.
Yep.
And now they're mixing in Schooler, and they're mixing in these other guys at linebacker. I feel like they're starting to finally figure something out there. Again, the Bears bad on the offensive line. So, and Caleb Williams, I thought, not to take away from the defense, but I thought Caleb Williams was really bad yesterday.
He got flustered.
There were a lot of throws that were there to be made that he didn't make, that they were just off the mark. So,
and I didn't know why. Like, the one thing, if there was a knock on the Patriots defense yesterday, and it's not just yesterday, I mean, we've talked about this a number of times, they struggle against teams with bigger receivers. And it's just, they have small corners. It's the reality of it. There was that one drive where he went to Keenan Allen like 3 or 4 times.
Yep.
And it was against Marcus Jones. It was against Jonathan Jones. They threw a couple guys at him. I think Marco Wilson, right, had a rep on him, and he kept hitting him. And they never really went back to Keenan Allen after that. And yeah, Caleb, he looked lost. And I don't know if that was the Patriots getting a little more creative on the back end. I don't know if that was just a pass rush that was in his face. I'm sure it was a little bit of everything. Are you good? I wanted to use that as a transition. You good on the defense there?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So as we move over to the offense, and we'll get into the specifics, but how do you feel Caleb Williams, Drake Maye? Like, hindsight's 2020, right? Caleb Williams coming out had the tools you're looking for, the upside you're looking for to go 1-1. And let's not forget too that he was billed as going to this ideal situation where, they weren't really the first overall team because they traded for the pick and they had another top 10 pick. They brought in, DJ Moore. They were adding talent on defense. Everybody thought Shane Waldron was going to be an answer. Not so much. And he had his issues too. He did not have a good game yesterday.
No.
But it goes to the nature and nurture thing. Do you think maybe Caleb Williams wouldn't be as flustered if he didn't start right away? Or is this, or to flip it, like, is this some justification of, and not that I thought Drake had his worst game of the year, but does it maybe show that the Patriots are onto something in terms of their quarterback development?
Yeah, could. Yeah, with Drake Maye. Yeah, I feel like Drake Maye is making small signs of progress, but he has also starting to repeat mistakes. So it's like, it feels like he's starting to sort of tread water the last couple of weeks. He had that interception that was sort of he missed the underneath guy. But just sticking to Caleb Williams, I mean, I'm not using hindsight. I had concerns about his overall makeup coming out of the draft. So I mean, like, I don't, and like this is an underrated quality that people don't really talk about enough with quarterbacks. Is like, is it a guy that guys want to play for and rally around? And so I think that clip of Caleb Williams getting knocked on his ass, and then Anthony Jennings, the Patriots guy, is the one to help him up off the turf. Like, I don't want to read into that too much. I know people are probably overanalyzing that clip right now as we speak, but that's just a bad look. That's a bad look for the Bears O-line, not helping him up, and for Caleb Williams, that, like, why isn't anyone coming to help this guy up right now? And just like, I didn't like the way he came off. I don't know about his overall makeup.
I think the body language from that entire team was bad.
Body language, facial expressions, like, it's not good. That to me, like, this is a side thing, but like, the Bears are a team that feels like they're sort of giving up on the season.
Yes.
The Patriots are the opposite, where they could have given up on the season when they dropped to 1-7 coming back from London. Clearly haven't given up on the season. Won 2 of 3 since then. So that, the Patriots, you got to give them credit for not giving up. The Bears look like they've given up, and like, you got to wonder if that's sort of stemming from the quarterback getting frustrated and not really fighting through it enough. And so I think Drake Maye has shown, at least, that he's shown resilience. He did sort of bounce back from that interception.
Yeah.
He made a few big throws when they needed him, like at the end of the half. Like, I feel like that was a big throw at the time in the game. They didn't need those 3 points at the end of the half. And I know you might want to talk about the end of the half specifically.
We'll get to the end of the half. Yep.
But yeah, like, I thought Drake Maye showed sort of like, showed some resilience that Caleb Williams did not. And I think that's a stark contrast between the two players.
And leadership too.
Yeah.
Leadership, from addressing the team during the week, which was talked about on the broadcast, and saying, hey, practice wasn't good enough, to, going up at the podium and trying to get the reporters to clap for the defense.
That was weird. Yeah.
Yeah. That's not.
Stacey probably pulled him aside. Like, yeah, don't have to do that.
So I think in college,
they're not going to clap. They're a bunch of a-holes.
In college, sometimes there'll be like boosters in the press conference. So maybe he thought there'd be like,
okay. Yeah.
But anyway, to his performance, I think the most notable thing from his performance, big picture, Drake Maye, is they won without him needing to be the guy. And we talked the last couple of weeks about, are they too reliant on him? And are they asking him to do too much? He was, take out the Jets game, right? Because he only played a quarter. So full starts, fewest pass attempts by almost 10. So coming into this game was 33. He only threw 25 passes in this game. ran a little bit, but was a non-factor in the run game.
He had the one big run on that fourth quarter drive, which I thought was huge. They made it a 13-point game. So forcing the Bears to score 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. I thought that was one big run he had.
He had one, but like far from their leading rusher, which had been the case. Even the Jets game when he got hurt, right?
Yeah.
He was kind of in the passenger seat for this one. And it came with its ups and downs. You mentioned that interception. He says he underthrew it. I think to underthrow it by that much, like, I just don't know if he didn't see the linebacker. If you watch him on that play and watch his feet, so he rolls out and he actually has some space. And you can see he's like, there is a way to make that throw. I think it was Hooper that he was targeting, right? Where if he like kind of lobs it, maybe he drops it in over the top. Hooper, toe tap on the sideline.
I think it's still too risky to
it's a risky
go
throw.
Right at that guy when he's in between you and the receiver.
Well, you gotta like lob it. I'm saying, like, put it up where he can't get it.
Yeah.
And so, but as he's going, it's like, all right, you either need to set your feet and throw. And I thought he had time to set his feet and throw. He might get hit, but I thought he had time to set his feet and throw clean before the hit got there. Or you like fully throw on the run and you use your momentum to help the throw. Instead, he kind of like half sets. I think he sees a defender sort of over his shoulder, never fully stops, but goes into like a shuffle and then just throws a jump pass. And that would explain why he didn't get a lot on it, because he threw it and he has a strong arm, which is why I think I don't know that he was trying to throw it away, but like he only throws that with his arm. There's no core, there's no legs. Like
he was trying to make a play there.
He was trying to make a play, but he was trying to do way too much. He got indecisive. He got caught in between. Besides that, though, like he did have that one other one in the end zone late in the game where I thought he just forced a throw, right? He tested a window, but the throw to Kayshon Boutte you mentioned, I don't want to be the Chiefs drooling over incompletions like they do with Patrick Mahomes. I'll give you one you can enjoy and one you can't. The left-handed thing, like it's neat. I think it's neat.
Oh, the throwaway.
Right. The left-handed throwaway is neat, but like, I'm not going to, right. If that's Mahomes, oh my God.
It's winning football, Barth.
The one I will say that the one incompletion that people are a little hot and bothered by, like, I get it, is the one at the end of half where he rolls right and throws to Osborne. One, I don't know how he threw that before going out of bounds. I thought he was out of bounds in real time.
Yeah.
And then I think that was a catch if Osborne didn't step out of bounds. Like looking at the replay, and they didn't show it a ton because obviously they weren't reviewing it.
That was a touchdown.
He got his feet in, right?
That was a touchdown if Osborne wasn't already out of bounds. Yeah.
I'll give a little bit of room. Again, I don't want to be the Chiefs celebrating incompletions, right? He got lateral he got horizontal with the ground. Like, yeah, and he missed the receiver by 5 yards. Like, I don't want to do that thing.
Yeah, but Drake Maye was on the mark on that play.
That's what I'm saying.
That wasn't because of Drake Maye.
If you want to enjoy like that one, you can enjoy. I'm not doing the left-handed. If you want to enjoy that one we can enjoy. But the big thing to me, like they didn't ask him to do a ton, and they still won the game. And he made one bad mistake. The turnover number came down. He went from 3 interceptions to 1. He went from 4 turnover worthy plays to 2, right? From game to game, from last week to this week. So, I said last week the turnover numbers need to come down. They came down. So I guess I have to be like, all right, that's good. That was still a terrible interception. And he can't if he's throwing the ball away this week, throw that thing into the freaking red seats, right? Like don't give any room for that to end up in the field of play. But it's the first time we've seen him in that more point guard role. What was the game I was watching? I forget the game I was watching last night. And they were talking about, or maybe it was a college football game. They were talking about the quarterback being more of a, he's been a shooting guard his whole career, but now he needs to be a point guard and just distribute, right? And that kind of mentality. Because you always think about the quarterback as a point guard, but there is like a quarterback mentality or a shooting guard mentality with some quarterbacks, right? We've seen Drake Maye as more of that shooting guard, as more of that playmaker. This was the first game where he really just sort of played distributor, and it went okay, which I think is encouraging.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think he still needs to learn when it's okay to not try to go for a big play. I think there's been a lot of 1st and 10 situations where you absolutely do not need to force the ball down the field. If there's nowhere to go with the ball, then just throw it away. And so I think he said that after that game-losing interception against the Titans. And so he obviously had that bad interception. It's 2 weeks in a row where he misses the underneath guy. I don't think he saw the underneath coverage there. I mean, and if he did, he's too bold there trying to go for the play.
Maybe he was trying to throw it away and just kind of ground it or whatever, ground it at the tight end's feet. But either. I don't think he saw. I think he missed the linebacker. I don't think he saw linebacker.
But I think I still want to sort of give him credit for like later in the game, he threw it away a few times. The left-handed one being one of them. That like he's starting to realize that like, okay, I don't need to go for the big play every single time. But like there's certain times where it's like, all right, let's just live to see another down. Like I think that's sort of the thing that you have to learn with experience and getting out there in games, being in the situation, and just realizing when it's okay to take the conservative route and just to go to the next play. And so I think that's something that's hopefully he's gonna learn over time. And hopefully we're not talking about like bad interceptions like that 2 years from now.
Right.
We're still talking about him making dumb interceptions.
I think we will. It's just can it be a couple times a year and not every week, sort of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, he does play the way he plays. There's going to be some bad turnovers. It's just his style, but it's about limiting them and the situations they're in and things like that. On the you want to do receivers or line first?
Let's do the line first.
Let's do the line. All right.
Start at the up front. Yeah.
Kept it simple. They this week, it looked like Mike Onwenu might play left guard. We saw it in practice. The coaches talked about it. Nope. They went back to that same group that has now started 3 games for them. No other group has started more than 1. And this is one where, all right, we talked about on the defense, the Bears offensive line sucks. Terrible. That was a bad version of a bad line. Some of that was just the Bears are bad and how much can you duplicate it?
And they should feel bad.
They should. The Bears defensive front's pretty good. Like they're not exactly the 80s Giants. It's not Lawrence Taylor over there, but that's a solid representative NFL group. And I thought the line held up well. They ran the ball well enough. They were at, I think it was just over 3 yards per just under 4 yards per carry from the running backs, which isn't a monster number, but they were 1.5 yards better than they were the previous month from the running backs. Drake Maye was pressured at 11 times. It's like a 38% pressure rate, which again, if you're a contender, that's probably not going to work. But for what they have right now, if they can keep it under 40, like you take that, you say, all right, like that worked. So hopefully the coaching staff is done tinkering at this point. I think that game should show you, hey, until this group gives you a reason to change, it's not the reason to change shouldn't be, well, we need to get Layden Robinson snaps or, oh, Cole Strange is healthy, right? Unless somebody totally falls off or gets hurt, this should be the group because they're playing well and they're starting to build continuity.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, continuity. Like that's why I was so frustrated with the way they moved away from this combination at the beginning of that Tennessee game. I thought it set a bad tone last week. And so this is a good sign for the coaching staff that they learned from their mistakes and they simplified it. They went back to they stuck with what worked, and they're building continuity, like you said.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's good that they're going in that direction. They're continuing to very slowly inch in a positive direction with the group they have. And like, look, they still need to probably overhaul this line in the offseason. Like, I don't know, other than Onwenu, I'm not sure how many of these guys that are on the starting offensive line right now are going to be on the starting offensive line next year. So that's a conversation for another day.
They still got to get through the year.
But they got to get through this year, and I feel like what they have right now, it's they've gotten to a level of being serviceable. And so, look, they weren't spectacular. I thought the run game wasn't spectacular yesterday, but I thought again, Ramondre Stevenson ran really hard, and he did well enough with the.
He didn't have all his yards after contact,
right? Yeah.
Which is good.
He had some yards before contact, which was
what a
good
concept.
Yeah, and like they ran just enough and came up with just enough big runs to make the Bears respected, especially on the touchdown drive where Ramondre Stevenson converted a 3rd and 1, and the very next play, the Bears are stacking the box and like that they set him up for the play action fake and the throw to Jalen Polk. And so like, yeah, they ran the ball just well enough and protected Drake Maye just well enough to make some plays in the passing game. And so if the defense can, carry the way they played over into these next games, like, they might be in some of these games.
Maybe. I thought they ran the ball. Again, it wasn't great, but the big thing for me is you see when you allow Ramondre Stevenson to get ahead of steam, I hadn't seen him run that physical, that violent, that angry in a few weeks. Like he was finishing runs, he was falling forward. He wasn't letting the first defender bring him down. And I think some of that is he just was able to build up physical momentum, getting going in the backfield instead of as soon as he gets the ball, having a defender right in his face. So I thought that made a difference. And you kind of saw Ramondre Stevenson pop in the run game yesterday, which was good. And again, they should just stick with the line. And, saying that the way it's gone this year, something will happen that completely forces a change. But for now, to me, like that group's been, I talked a lot about finding the baseline. Now, I thought I was like a month, maybe 6 weeks. It's almost Thanksgiving. and we're still trying to find the baseline so that, or maybe they found it now, but took them till almost Thanksgiving. But this should be the group moving forward. Wide receivers. I had one thing I liked, one thing I didn't like from that group. What I liked, Kayshon Boutte is a guy. Like, he's a legit NFL receiver. I don't think he's the number one that they're looking for, but like, he can contribute. And him and Drake Maye clearly have chemistry, and Drake Maye trusts him, and that's important. And the fact that he's playing more than any other wide receiver, I think, is notable. And I think it speaks to the coaching staff recognizing that trust and capitalizing on it. So I was somebody who was not as high on Kayshon Boutte in the summer, and the main reason I kept giving was consistency. He would have a day or two where he looked great, and then you wouldn't see him for a week.
Yep.
And he have a day or two where he looked great, and it was just about what would it look like if he strung that together. This is it. He, like, not a volume guy, but 2-3 plays a game, he shows up and makes a big catch. And it's usually a contested catch. It's Drake Maye fitting the ball in the window. That's absolutely a role you need filled. Again, they still need the number one, but we talk about that offseason checklist. We came in thinking, well, do they need a number one and a number two, right? After Jalen Polk started to fall off and Kendrick Bourne's looking older, and they have complementary guys like Boutte, Douglas. We'll get to Kendrick Bourne. Boutte, Douglas, you put a number one with them. All right, you're starting to build yourself a room now.
Yeah, no, I think if you got the true number one and parked it on top of everyone they already have, you have a pretty good group there. Like,
yeah.
An elite guy, a franchise quarterback can make it work with this group plus, the number one. But yeah, no, like, what I love about Boutte is, you mentioned it, he's coming up with big catches. It's not that he's just making plays. He's making plays in key moments.
Yeah.
And again, like that big catch right before the end of the half, like, I thought that was huge at the time. Like, it was only 10-3 at the time, right? So they made it a 2-possession game going into the half. The Bears were, Bears struggling offensively, getting booed out of the stadium by their own fans. Like, you started to get them feeling really bad going into the half, and thanks to Kayshon Boutte making that big play and everybody having the alertness to get up and run down and spike the ball, and Montez Sweat getting caught offside. Like, I thought that was sort of emblematic of how one team has not given up on the season and the other team feels like they're sort of giving up. And I thought, Kayshon Boutte is a good example of how, he's coming on at the as the season's gone on and as the season's gotten more important, like, for them to win games. Like, no, I know that, the season's sort of lost at this point,
right?
But the fact that they've needed plays and at the end of some of these games and then at the end of the half and just in these key situations, Boutte's coming up with big plays. And so, like, I don't need him to make 10 catches for 100 yards. Like, he doesn't need to be that guy at all. But if, like, you can go to him for a few plays a game where, like, you really need it, like, Drake Maye needs sort of that go-to guy at least. Like, until he gets the number one anyway. Right. He needs a guy that he can trust, and clearly he has that trust with Boutte, and Boutte deserves to have that
and
trust.
Look, it had been Hunter Henry, and Hunter Henry, not to take anything away from him, but I think defenses are now looking at him as that's the guy we got to erase. And so who else was going to step up? And it's Kayshon Boutte. I thought Demario Douglas had a solid game yesterday as well. I liked some of the designs, how they got him the football. It felt like it made sense in the context of the offense. So that's what I liked. What I didn't like, they reconfigured the snaps. So Boutte played the most. Then Douglas. Then Osborne played more than Douglas, but Douglas played more passing plays than Osborne, which makes sense. Osborne's a better blocker, and it was close, so it wasn't exactly a tell, but Kendrick Bourne didn't play. And Andrew Callahan of the Boston Herald reported during the game, that was the plan going in, was for Bourne not to play so that they could get younger players on the field, which, as much as I like Kendrick Bourne, fine. It's late in the year. You want to see what you have in some of the young guys. Jalen Polk's role increased a bit. Javon Baker still didn't really play. He only played 4 snaps. The only guy that played more was KJ Osborne. And technically, KJ Osborne's younger than Kendrick Bourne. He's 2 years older, 29, 27, but
he's not he's not a kid.
He's not a developmental player. He's a 27-year-old on an expiring contract. And objectively, Kendrick Bourne's a better player. I know he had a couple drops a few weeks ago, but like, Kendrick Bourne's a better player than KJ Osborne. So I don't know if that was to make sure he didn't check out or become a problem now that he didn't get traded, or maybe they do think Osborne's better. Like, I don't know. I don't need to see. And he didn't really do anything. He had 1 target. It was incomplete. So I would go back to, like, the rotation yesterday. almost was like what I think it should be. I want to see a little more Javon Baker, but switch Bourne and Osborne. And maybe that's what they'll do. Maybe this was like a 1 week make good. I don't know. Maybe they were trying to let him showcase because they're going to release him. Like, for a guy that you were going to trade, for a guy that's not a part of your future, and I know Bourne's older too, but he's on a multi-year contract. He's a leader on this team. You saw him yesterday firing guys up during and after the game. He's a better player. I don't need to see KJ Osborne that much. I really don't.
Yeah, I didn't get that. It's inconsistent messaging from the team. Like the fact that they're telling reporters, yeah, no, we want to play the kids, so we're benching Kendrick Bourne this week. Doesn't explain KJ Osborne getting out there and almost having the game's first touchdown, like getting targeted in the end zone. Like, I didn't get that part at all. And KJ Osborne, like, he was supposed to be a steady veteran presence on the team. He's been anything but. And so I didn't get the KJ Osborne part, but yeah, like the receivers are starting to feel like what they were doing with the offensive line, where it's like they're starting to unnecessarily tinker with the group, where I thought like it was sort of rounding into form when they had Booty, Douglas, and Bourne as their 1, 2, 3. Like, I thought that was working. And so, yeah, mix in Javon Baker on plays where, especially when you're trying to take a shot deep down the field and have a guy run a deeper route. Like, yeah, mix in Javon Baker there. So I'd like to see more of that as well. But yeah, like if they want to play the kids, then I don't know. I don't get why they're playing Osborne at all.
I think there's something going on going back to the trade deadline. We know he wanted to get traded. Like he more or less said as much. Yeah. So do they have to keep him happy now that he's here because they don't want him to become a problem? And maybe that's what that was.
Yeah, I guess that could be it. But like, but I don't understand that either because they're trying to win a football game. So it's like, who cares about keeping this one guy happy?
I don't.
Is he going to blow up the room? Is KJ Osborne going to blow up the room?
It's not like he played a ton.
Yeah.
Right. They still had and the one shakeup again. I do it like Booty playing the most. That was new, and that should stay. And Douglas being as involved as he was, that should stay. It was a weird thing.
It's been a weird season for that whole room.
It
on the
really
field,
has.
off the field, it's been weird.
It really has. The other thing I want to talk about from this game, or two other quick things. The end of the half. So they can't run a 2-minute drill, but a 1-minute drill, they're just like, they were excellent.
16-second drill
so
or whatever.
Next time they get the ball, like just take a knee on the first play.
Yeah.
And then do what you did. Cause I know some people questioned the 3rd and 1 run. I didn't love that, but it's also like you have the timeout and it's all right. We're going to take a run. We're going to run the ball. We're going to be right on the doorstep of field goal range and we're going to take a shot. And like, cause if that passing can play, I don't know. I thought that was fine. Could you have called a screen there? Yeah. I didn't think it was egregious. Even though they didn't pick up the 1 yard last week, but down to Kayshon Boutte knowing to get the ball to the ref, to get it clocked and catching the Bears offsides, picking up the 5 yards there. Like, I was surprised considering how poorly their 2-minute drills have gone to run that 30-second drill the way they did. I was surprised. That was well done.
Yeah, it was well done. And it was encouraging that they're trusting Drake Maye at all to like make a play like that and, to empower him to make that throw down the field. Like, not instructing him to like, no, just throw it away and
right. We're just going to go to halftime.
We'll take a knee and go to half. Like, they went for it. And so like, I like that they were I know you mentioned the run, but like, I feel like that was pretty decisive as far as like, we're going to try to get points here.
Yeah.
And like, I know that how they're going about doing it still isn't perfect, but they made a big play. And like, they made the big play, if you remember at the end of the half in the Houston game, with the Kayshon Boutte touchdown. And so like, there's something there where like they can, those two can connect for something and you got to account for it at the end of the half. I hope they keep trying. I hope they keep going for the big plays.
Yeah. And look, rule of thumb for me, and this is obviously situation dependent, but like if you have the ball with 30-ish seconds left in the half, I'm fine playing for the field goal. That's a long way to go for like where they were. It's a long way to go for a touchdown in a game where the other offense isn't good. If it's like, hey, we can make this a 2-score game.
Yeah, just scratch out some points, make it a 2-score game.
I don't hate playing for the field goal there. Right. I'm not saying like sit on the ball entirely. Like that would have bugged me, like it did in the Jets game. But I get being like, all right, we want to get 3 here. Right. That's what we have time to do. That's what we're set up to do. We're gonna get 3. Fine, whatever. I get that. The other thing, special teams, they can't put that full game together. It's been such a polarizing unit because you have Joey Sligo 4 for 4. You have another really good game returning for Marcus Jones. They let up a big punt return on the first. They go 3 and out, and then give up a big punt return, and it's like, oh boy, Like there goes any momentum they had to start the game. And against most teams, a punt return like that early in the game is going to burn you. Didn't yesterday, but I think it's now 3 times in 4 weeks they've allowed like a field flipping punt return. They allowed one against the Jets and they won that game, but they allowed one against the Jets. They allowed, or maybe it's 3 and 5. They had one against the Titans. No, they didn't have one against the Titans. They had against the Jags. It's 3 and 4. Is the Jets? The Tayshaun Gibson had one. They had the touchdown by the Jags. They didn't have one against the Titans, and then they had the one this week. So, I mean, they got to, and it's been all different things. Like the Jags one was Bryce Behringer out kicking his coverage. The Jets one was multiple missed tackles. I thought yesterday was poor lane discipline. Like it's been, it's not one thing or one guy you point to, and it's like, this needs to be better. I think it's, you plug one hole and another one opens over here, right? So
yeah, again, like that, I've been saying about that unit for a few weeks now, like which one's going to show up this week, and it's almost even play to play, like what's going to happen, what the hell are they going to do on this one? Are they going to cover it, or are they going to give up a return?
It's unit within the unit, right? Because you have field goal block, kickoff return, punt return, and
they had slide dropping it outside of the drop zone too, like just these little mistakes.
I forgot about that. That was tough. So I think they're going into the wind for that, right?
Oh God, the friggin' wind.
That might be that might be one where you don't try the line drive kick into the wind, because it's not like Sly missed the ball. They were trying to do that line drive kick we've seen them do.
Can we get Bill Nye or someone into the Patriots locker room, into the meeting room, talk about wind for a little bit?
Well, that's like that's one of the tougher wind stadiums in the league too.
I know, yeah,
right.
It's like the uprights were like trembling.
Yeah, it's there in Pittsburgh. I think they said it was like 30-mile-an-hour winds.
Yeah, it was crazy.
But Joey Sly worked through it, so I don't think May had any balls hold up in the wind or anything like that.
No, I don't think so.
There was one Caleb Williams had him. It ended up being incomplete. I'm trying to remember, but it was like
he threw some wobblers.
He had some ducks. So
yeah, I mean, yeah, not to go back to Caleb Williams, but yeah, I just thought he was bad. I didn't think, like, I don't want to take away from the defense again, but like there were plays to be made that like there were times where he was protected and he just threw it off the mark.
Well, how about, all right, let's end it here. You good on this game?
I'm good on this game, Barthy.
I thought it was interesting. Just the theater of it is maybe the term. The NFL script writers, you had the guy the Patriots, everybody wanted the Patriots to take, right? There were still people who were mad that Chad Ryland hit that kick in Denver and that Bailey Zappi had the game he did in Pittsburgh, costing them Caleb Williams. You had the guy people wanted the Patriots to end up with, facing the guy, obviously, the Patriots actually drafted. All the while, the guy that put the Patriots in this position was making his first start of the year down in Jacksonville against the Vikings. You got any Mac Jones thoughts?
I mean, that was his big opportunity to show, like, here's what happens when I have a team around him. But he has weapons down there, at least.
He has weapons. The line's bad. They have like a number of backup offensive linemen, but he has guys to throw the ball.
Bad line, but he has guys that he can throw the ball to, and like I think it's just still he's bad under pressure.
I mean, that the whole thing's a mess in Jacksonville. Like, he wasn't good, but a lot wasn't good.
Yeah,
it was just interesting to me that all played out. That it was like, all right, like, because remember there was a group of people who were like, hey, you give Mac Jones one more year, and you take Joe Alt, you take Marvin Harrison, and you really see, and it's like, so we got to see the other option too. Not great.
Not great.
So, Patriots play the Rams next week. You got any early thoughts on that before we wrap it up?
Yeah, the Rams have been playing better ever since they got Nakua and Cooper Kupp back on offense, and so I know their offensive line hasn't had a great year overall, and so I wonder if the Patriots are going to have the same kind of success that they had up front as they did against the Bears. Like, and this is a big test for the coaching staff. I still have a lot of respect for Sean McVay and that coaching staff down there, and so like, are the coaches going to have another? Are they going to stack weeks here? Are they going to overthink things? Are they going to, the coaching staff has been? We're at the point where we can say that they've been inconsistent. You know what I mean?
I think they've
had a few really good weeks, and they've had some really bad weeks, and so we're at the point where it's like, which coaching staff is going to show up? Coaches need to be on point this week because they're going up against one of the best coaches in the league, and like, it's a smart offensive coach, and so like he's going to take what the defense is giving him. So I wonder if the Rams are going to be able to run the ball in this game because the Patriots were having all those troubles against the run. Like, are they going to get re-exposed? That would be my concern. is if the Patriots can't carry it over on defense. Like, that's going to be the big question.
I think that's fair. I think that's very fair. We'll have coverage of that game leading up to that game all week on 98.5thesportshub.com. There'll be another Sports Hub Patriots podcast on Thursday, looking ahead to that game. I know I apologize. We missed last week. Just had a couple technical difficulties. It's tough to get the show up. So we'll be back with the Thursday show this week. You can find this show and all other Sports Hub Patriots audios. You get player interviews, things like that. Sports Hub Patriots audio feed, wherever you get your podcasts. Also on the Sports Hub YouTube channel. So until the next one, for Matt Dolloff, I'm Alex Barth. Thanks for tuning in, and we will talk to you next time.